Redefining Jackson podcast.
How y'all doing today on this beautiful day, man? I wanted to create a show highlighting black individuals that was legendary in our community, that had something to say, that spoke a message that was very intriguing, to see if the message that they was trying to convey during the time they was alive and standing up for what they believed in and stuff, does it still have a say so with what's going on in today's climate? Because the 60s was a pivotal time being black, and I don't think things have changed that much, except it's less people that's leaders. It's less leaders. It's no one trying to stand up and lead the community down a path of independence. And when I say independence, I mean we have our own communities, our own banks, our own hospitals, not dependent on government to take care of us, our own farms, our own farmers markets. And it's just interesting that living in 2024, things to me hasn't changed. We haven't evolved like how I would want us to see. And I think like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, a lot of people that was in that previous time would have been disappointed to see that things are still similar to when they was alive. But this first individual, Malcolm X, I want to talk about. I was looking at one of his interviews from Berkeley, California, when he was in the college, and I just took some clips and I said, man, we're gonna talk about this though. We're gonna chop it up on this one though. But this is the first one, reacting to violence.
We are a violent group. We are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to obey the law, to respect everyone who respects us. We're taught to display courtesy, to be polite. But we're also taught that at any time anyone in any way inflicts or seeks to inflict violence upon us, we are within our religious rights to retaliate in self-defense to the maximum degree of our ability. We never initiate any violence upon anyone, but if anyone attacks us, we reserve the right to defend ourselves. So to accuse us of being violent is like accusing a man who is being lynched, who is being hung on a tree, simply because he struggles vigorously against his lyncher. The victim is accused of violence, but the lyncher is never accused of violence. And I only point this out because the various racist groups that are set up in this country by whites and who have actually practiced violence against blacks for 400 years are never associated or identified or made synonymous with the term violence. But whites speak of Muslims almost synonymously with violence. Whenever Muslims are mentioned by them, violence is brought up, but it's not connected with any other group. This is a sort of a propaganda tactic, or what I would call psychological warfare, to in some way make the image of the Muslims in this country be a violent image rather than a religious image.
You know, that's interesting to me because if you look at statistics today, they'll say that black people are the most violent people in the country. But we are just reacting. And I don't want to say we in that aspect because I'm not a violent person. But if a person tries to harm me, I'm going to react in a way of protecting myself. So I'm going to have to react with violence also. Now, that's a total polar opposite of what Martin Luther King was talking about. And both of them have their points in the way that they moved and the strategies that they used. But to me, I'm always going to protect myself. And it's crazy that he said during that time, they was promoting that we was the violent ones. And I don't want to use the word Muslims or Christians or black, and I really don't want to say we and attach myself to organizations and groups, but the people that look like me, the black individuals that was brought over here forcefully. We didn't want to come over here. When you do your research, we was forcefully brought over here. So in our reality, the people that reacted with violence was the ones that had the power over us. It was the Caucasian individuals. It was the police. It was the white supremacists. I remember looking at the videos where they was hosing black folks down. And you know what's crazy? When I look at those videos, instead of us retaliating with violence against the people who was harming us and hindering us, we would retaliate with violence amongst each other. And still to this day, we retaliate with violence amongst each other more than we do anybody else. The people that's really harming us are living peacefully when we are attempting to hurt each other. Now let's get into part 2, separation and defending ourselves.
We believe that separation is the best way and the only sensible way, not integration. But on the other hand, when we see our people being brutalized by white bigots, white racists, we think that they are foolish to allow themselves to be beaten and brutalized and do nothing whatsoever to protect themselves. They are foolish. They should have the right to defend themselves against any attack made against them by anyone. If a dog is biting a black man, the black man should kill the dog. Whether the dog is a police dog, a hound dog, or any kind of dog. If a dog is sick on a black man, when that black man is doing nothing but trying to take advantage of what the government says is supposed to be his, then that black man should kill that dog or any two-legged dog who sicks the dog on it.
Should other black men help that particular person who was attacked?
I think you'll find, sir, that there will come a time when black people wake up and become intellectually independent enough to think for themselves, as other humans are intellectually independent enough to think for themselves. Then the black man will think like a black man, and he will feel for other black people. And this new thinking and feeling will cause black people to stick together. And then at that point, you'll have a situation where when you attack one black man, you are attacking all black men. And this type of black thinking will cause all black people to stick together. And this type of thinking also will bring an end to the brutality inflicted upon black people by white people. And it is.
That was deep to me because, like, when I was playing the last clip and I was talking about it, and I said that the leaders from the 60s and the 50s and 70s would be disappointed in us today. The reason I say that, man, because we still don't think intellectually independent enough to want to protect one another, want to support one another's movement. I apologize, y'all. That Red Bull got me burping. But to want to see another person evolve. A lot of folks in our community don't want to see the next man surpass them, and then they have a problem with that. So what's crazy about that is he's saying that we should have separated ourselves from other races. Now, it gets deep when he says that, because I was about to say pause, but this ain't the episode for that. It gets deep when he says that because separation means that we wouldn't want to be dependent on other races that are in control of the goods, that are in control of the food, in control of the finances, the land and everything. We would want to be independent and be able to take care of ourselves on our own. But I remember when I interviewed Judge Joe Brown last year, and we was talking about how Martin Luther King wanted us to integrate with the Caucasian race and the powers that be. He wanted us to integrate with them. He was fearful of black power.
There was this black pride thing. I'm black and I'm proud. Black power. And,
Can I say something for a minute, Judge?
Go
Every
ahead.
time, I apologize. This is probably way off topic, but every time I hear you say black power, I just got through reading a book. I just got through reading a book called, it was a MLK book. It said, what's the name of the book? Where Do We Go From Here? And it talks about black power and how Martin Luther King was against black power and all of this stuff. And I wonder why he was against black power. Like he said, black power caused separation.
It scared him. Scared the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And by the way, black power actually achieved more unity and lack of discrimination against all races than nonviolence did, because you had the Students for Democratic Society, they were white. You had the Brown Berets, they were Chicano. You had the Native American thing. You had the Asian thing, and it was called Third World Alliance. And we did that, so we didn't exactly like white stuff, and we knew it to be wrong white power where it was manifesting something against black people. But we didn't give a damn about anybody doing something for ourselves, so we didn't talk about white supremacy. Hell no. We said, get the hell out of our way, or we'll move you out of our way, and we'll do it ourselves. All this stuff now about, we don't get it, because we knew that if you stood up for what you were doing, you could get it. And that meant we stood patrols, Black Student Alliance, Black Student Union, some of them, and the Black Panther Party and the Nation of Islam. You'd patrol the areas to make sure there was no police brutality, no spousal abuse and domestic violence going on, train the children, feed the children, and that was what we were doing.
You know, I asked Judge Joe Brown that because I was reading that MLK book. It's a good book too. I suggest people go listen to it or read the physical copy. Where do we go from here? And it talks about MLK being against black power because he felt as if it caused separation. Now, during that clip, we heard that Judge Joe Brown in 2023, he was alive back then in the 60s too, man. He persecuted the killer of Martin Luther King. He was the judge on the case for the person who killed MLK Jr., and he found him guilty. So at the end of the day, his opinion and his point is valid. He said that black power created more unity than nonviolence because we had to hold ourselves accountable instead of wanting to receive assistance from others. We had to hold ourselves accountable and do what we thought was in the best interest of us as a collective instead of having outside influence and assistance. And I look at that today, you know, I'm a further along the conversation with this interview from Malcolm X at the Berkeley College. But I look at that today, and when I seen Kamala Harris running and I seen all of the celebrities and entertainers and actors come out, and the Democratic Party, what they represent and stand for, they pacify the black community so they can be able to keep control over us. And we like being pacified, getting assistance, getting government and stuff instead of doing it on our own. When someone isn't doing anything for you, it makes you evolve and grow more because you have to figure it out on your own. You have to. And that's just that was an interesting piece right there from both of them brothers, man. Let's continue on with the conversation.
Of any Negro, be he politician, be he clergyman, or civic leader who is constantly patted on the back by whites. I have a tendency to lead toward the Negro politician who is constantly condemned by the white power structure. This is my thought pattern. I'm giving you an insight of it.
You, though, mentioned Mr. Lynn and saying you'd like to know who his white friends are. Now, I'm wondering if you didn't make a contradictory statement in Muslim terms by using white and friend in the same phrase. That is
I
to
use
say,
friend in quotes.
I see. In other words, if a black man cannot have a white man as a friend.
He may have a white man who's friendly, but being friendly and being a friend, I think, are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. A fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb chop on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb chop in his plate.
I'd like to point out, though, that
And I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberal, who usually poses as the friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservative in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods that differ.
You know, after looking at that and listening to that clip earlier today while I was breaking this down and making the clips for the episode, it tripped me out because I had to go back and look at the definition of a friend. And I'm going to read the definition to y'all. We assume, we throw the word around lightly that this is my friend, this is my partner, But when I came to look at this definition, it tripped me out. So, one attached to another by affection or esteem. One that is not hostile. One that is of the same nation, party, or group. One that favors or promotes something, such as charity. A favored companion. A member of a sector that stresses inner light, rejects sacraments and an ordained ministry, and opposes war. A person included in a list of one's designed connections. To act as a friend. These are the verbs. To include someone in one's list of designated friends on a social media service. So when I look at that, I've been throwing the word around lightly, and I really don't have friends, man. Because who can I call to depend on? Think about that when you heard that or whatever. Who can you call to depend on? I was conflicted about that also because I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, man. And I felt like he was saying a white person can't be your friend. So the city I grew up in, it's like 88% white. Most of the people that I knew and grew up with was Caucasians, man, and I used to think they was cool. And this is cool. This my boy. That's what I used to be like. This is my boy. And in our reality, they can be cool with you to a certain extent, but are they really your friend? If I've surpassed them in a certain sector in life that they want to go far in, will they continue to be my friend? If they have an opportunity to see me evolve, will they promote my evolution? Will they celebrate my evolution? Or will they befriend me? So listening to that, I feel like, nah, they really can't be a true friend. And that's not being racist. Because the definition of friend, the definition of race, and all of that has changed over the years also. Race used to mean one concerned with their own race. That's what a racist used to be defined as, one concerned with their own race. But now the definition has changed. The definition of friend has also evolved because of the implement of social media in our life. It ruins words and it makes us think of words differently, but I really don't think that there is a such thing as a friend. And if you think that that person is your friend that you consider right now, you should try and see if they got your back, man. Try them and see if they got your back. Act like you got a flat or something, or you need some money or something, and you'll see if they'll be there or not, man. Let's get to the next clip.
What is the definition of freedom, justice, and equality for the black man, and where and when is it to be attained?
Well, take equality first. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad doesn't teach us to associate equality with whites. Equality has nothing to do with whites. We don't want to be equal with the white man. He's not the criteria or yardstick by which equality is measured. He's not in a position to tell us we are equal. It's not his right. It's not his to do. Equality, we want equality. We had equality before the white man was created. We had equality before the white man came into existence. And we want equality whether the white man is on this earth or not. Equality means the opportunity to develop all of our dormant potential, all of our dormant capability. And in developing this dormant capability, the right and the ability to stand on this earth on some land of our own and bring about a civilization and a society in which we will be completely independent, complete freedom to take care of the needs, to take care of the wants and the likes and the dislikes of our people, to establish our own nation, our own society, our own heaven, our own future. This is what we mean by freedom, by equality, and justice means as you sow, so shall you reap.
I listened to that today, and it makes me think about something that we're dealing with in today's time: diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I want to go back to the word equality, because I don't think people are equal. I don't think that people are equal. Everybody is different. But everybody should have equal opportunity to be themselves. Now, there may be consequences to having the opportunity to be yourself, because you may want to do something that's against the law. You may want to do something that is not in great interest to the whole, the collective as a nation. But everybody should have equal opportunity, but everybody ain't equal. Nobody's the same. I'm not the same as my mom, my wife, my sister, my brother, my niece, my nephew. Nobody's the same. Nobody has the same thoughts. And why that makes me think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, that fight today, is because the government will throw around those words like freedom, equality. They're powerful words: diversity, equity, and they will use it to their benefit and make the people think that they're getting some sort of, I don't know the word I'm looking for right now, some sort of freedom. You know, in our reality, the government will use those words against you instead of for you. And you just really have to do what you think is going to take you to where you want to go. Because we ain't equal. Nobody's going to give you anything. And looking at him saying we and us a lot during that interview when he was at Berkeley, it lets me know that we're less unified today than we was then. And that's sad, man. I'm going to play this last clip, and he's talking about entertainers and leaders. And I appreciate y'all tuning in to my show, man. And tell me what y'all think about this episode. Leave me a comment in the comment section, man, about y'all thoughts about this, because I'm going to start doing more of these, breaking down interviews of our historical leaders, man, and historical people and their thought process about government, about politics, about just the state of America in general during their time. Thank y'all, man. Peace, love, plenty, abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone.
File, according to their statistics, supported the Reverend Martin Luther King somewhere over 90%, whereas the support and favorable rating that they gave Minister Muhammad was less than 20%, and somewhere around 45% of them gave an unfavorable rating to Mr. Muhammad. What would your response be in terms of Baldwin's statement that this is a growing thing and the kinds of evidence that we have that there isn't much to it?
Well, that statement I just made concerning the Constitution is Article 1, Section 2 in the Constitution, where it classifies us as chattel. Baldwin did point out that Mr. Muhammad has the only grassroots support and is the only one whose whole following operates or functions on a mass vehicle. And I think Baldwin told Dr. Kenneth Clark that Martin Luther King is at the end of his rope. Now, concerning the poll taken by Newsweek magazine, I think you said that this was the leaders who said that, who went with King and against Mr. Muhammad around 90%. I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. And it is an honor, actually, that they endorsed Dr. Martin Luther King and were against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. That's actually an honor. Now, when you say that they also, in this same Newsweek poll magazine, I think the pollster said that he went into the Negro community and asked about the Muslims. And many Negroes whom he asked said, well, I never heard of the Muslims. Who are they? You know,
this is the rank and file we're talking about.
Now, when they got down to the rank and file, this was the answers that they got. This is equivalent to the situation in Kenya during the Mau Mau uprising, when many frightened whites in Kenya, Africa, would go among the Africans and ask them, what about the Mau Mau? And the African would say, I never heard of them. And the same white man who would ask the African this question and very naively believe what the African said, when he went to bed that night, he would lose his head. And usually the one who took his head was the same African who told him that afternoon he had never heard of the Mau Mau.
Except in the Newsweek poll, they used Negro interviewers.
You'll find that oftentimes Negroes are as much on guard around Negro interviewers, who usually represent the bourgeois element of Negroes, as they are on guard around whites. Usually Negroes know that when this bourgeois Negro walks through the door, he is not doing something that he's initiated himself, but he's involved in something in which the white man is the absolute author of and has sent him to the Negro community for some information. And when they give that Negro some information, usually they give him the information that they want him to take back to the white man, because that's who.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.